What's up, everybody? Welcome in another edition of Bets and Ball Games with Edwards and Greeson. We are recording at 11 a.m. Eastern on Happy Friday to everyone. All right, let's start off by telling you about the great folks over at Bet Online, which is your top spot for all your live betting action and contest. UFC, NBA, NHL are in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's all caps BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. All right, let's get to the schedule. So Clemson, like I said, 12.5. That's a dub. Clemson's
Not only is that a dub, if you can get that at 12.5, I know you run the risk of Carson Beck rolling an ankle in preseason practice. In Atlanta, Georgia's going to pistol whip Clemson.
I concur, no question about it. And Clemson is definitely fake. I mean, credit to Dabo. I mean, they were neck and neck with Alabama there for a while. But they are really starting to fade. And on that note, has he gone into the portal? I don't think I've looked. Is he still being stubborn about that?
He very well may be, but they lost way too many first 2-day draft picks to be as mediocre as they were last year. Did you notice that?
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
Clemson lost way too many day 1, day 2 draft picks, the first 3 rounds.
Right. Yeah. I did notice
kind of blah-tastic as they were last year.
Right. They were blah. And guess what? He's getting even more stubborn. I think he had 1 transfer last year. He has 0 transfers. He is that stubborn and hard-headed. And
I can't think of a number bigger than 4 touchdowns that I would not lay in Atlanta on the opening weekend.
Yeah, they're going to get mauled. Yeah, okay, so there's a second play for me. Georgia and Jay. Georgia minus 12.5. And yes, I mean, at 14 or less is an absolute gift. Yes, and they did lose a lot of talent. They lost Shipley. I don't think the quarterback's very good. Yeah, that is going to be an absolute beatdown. All right, so sorry about that. All right, Tennessee Tech, obviously a W. At Kentucky, they'll be facing their old quarterback, W.
Yep.
Then they get 2 weeks to prepare for Bama. All right, let me see if Bama gets 2 weeks to prepare for them. Bama does get two weeks to prepare for them as well. So I said 5.5's the number. You know, you got to lean Georgia there.
I'm more than a lean, Brian. I'm more than a lean.
You're an absolute dub. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna not commit quite yet. All right, Auburn at home, dub. Right. Mississippi State at home, dub. At Texas. Okay, wait. There is a line for that game. Oh, maybe it was just Bet Online didn't have it, so I can grab it from somebody else. I believe Georgia's favored by 1.5. What are you thinking on that one? That's the game of the year of the regular season, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger game even than Michigan-Ohio State. It's not a rivalry game, but that is in Austin. Side note, how many different college game day locales is going to include Georgia? Because they could very easily be in Tuscaloosa 3 weeks prior. They assuredly are going to be in Austin. And then
maybe Ole Miss.
Another 4 weeks or another 3 weeks, they could absolutely be in Oxford.
Yeah. So I'm saying minimum of 3.
But
yeah. Georgia is minus 1.5 at FanDuel, and the total is 55.5 in that game. I mean, that's gonna be a ball game.
It's gonna be a very good football game. But 2 things that jump out at me. Even if the quarterbacks are a push, because Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck are both listed at various sites that, if you can find the number, as co-favorites to be the number 1 overall draft pick in the 2025 draft. But Georgia's biggest question mark to me is going to be the back seven defensively. Do I believe they have talent? Absolutely. Am I sure of that talent? Beyond Malik Starks, not overly. And maybe the middle linebacker, but the only way to exploit that would be NFL quality wide receivers and an NFL quality running back. Texas lost all three of those. Concur and conversely, Texas's strength defensively last year was a nasty defensive front led by Byron Murphy. A lot of those dudes are gone.
Who
Now,
our Falcons could have had Byron Murphy.
Oh my God! What such a better pick would have been than Michael Penix. And in 5 years, we're going to look up and Byron Murphy's going to be very Aaron Donald-esque, and
Yes.
Michael Penix, we're going to wonder if he's going to ever start. And I was talking Georgia. Come on! You derailed me, and now I'm going to have to go take some sort of pharmaceutical. But Georgia returns 4 offensive line starters who combined for 50 starts last year, Brian. 50 starts. That type of skill set up front is going to translate to success on the road. The Georgia schedule is brutal this year. Last year's schedule was a cakewalk.
Right.
This year's schedule is difficult. I mean, you got Clemson in a neutral site. Yeah, we think they've drummed them, but still it's Clemson in a neutral site game. You got road games at Kentucky, Bama, Texas, and Oxford. I mean, that's a daunting task for most teams. Georgia is not most teams. I think they win at Texas. I think the only possible game they could lose
at Ole Miss
is at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And I think that is the Kiffin factor because it's completely unpredictable.
And they're coming off the rivalry game against Florida, which, it is a rivalry game, but I mean, not as much because they know they're going to be favored by 28 points or whatever the hell it is. So I'm looking, what does Ole Miss have before Georgia? I mean, they're at Arkansas. Easy game, but they are traveling. I would like Ole Miss's chances better if they had 2 weeks to prepare and Georgia didn't, but that isn't the case. Yeah.
Tell me what you think about Georgia, Texas, because I kind of dominated there. I took
no, you're fine. I still need to do some studying on Texas right now. I would just say that I don't want to play over 10.5 because I think they have legit chances to lose at Texas and at Ole Miss and potentially at Bama. I think the discussion is really just those 3 games. No disrespect to Tennessee and Kentucky and Clemson because they're going to be top 20 teams, I think. But Georgia is a top 3 team and it's going to, it has been, it's going to stay there. For a while. So, the season win total is a pass for me because I think they could legit lose at Texas and at Ole Miss. And again, they can still win the national title if they do that. If they go 10-2 and those are their losses, especially if they're close games, not only are they in the playoff, I think they're a pretty good seed in the playoff. Don't you think?
Well, no, especially because here's one of the crazy things, and another thing to hate about the 12-team expansion, because I need to look this up real quick. There's a real chance in your image of 10-2 if
the 1 or 2 seed might have to play Georgia. Or are you saying they're going to be a
no? Well, I'm just curious if does Ole Miss and Texas play this year? I'm trying to look up.
Here, I got it right. I got that right here. So Ole Miss does not play Texas.
See, because, all right, if they go 10-2 and both of those teams, let's say they run the table, and you're talking about they play, it would behoove Georgia not to be in the SEC championship game. Because the 10-2 Georgia against 12-0 Texas, a 12-0 Ole Miss is going to be no worse than the second seed outside the conference champions. Third seed, maybe.
Right.
I mean, the way the thing falls out.
Right.
I mean, I personally I can understand a pass. I don't like to have conversations like this. I'm not putting my name on it yet because there's a whole lot of things, and that number's not going to change. Maybe the odds change
Maybe the odds, but
a
yeah,
smidge
right.
between now and August, but I think we can forecast. I love Carson Beck as a
Yeah,
Heisman pick right now. I'm on Georgia. As soon as you and I get off this conversation, I'm going to my various accounts and getting on Georgia minus 12 and a half wherever I can find it against Clemson.
yep.
That's going to be an absolute curb stomp.
No question about it. All right, so we both, or I like Beck for the Heisman plus 800 or eight. I'm sorry, plus 850 at Bet Online. And shop around. I mean, maybe you can find a better number, but I doubt it. And I also like what was and then Georgia at 14 or fewer. Love them against Clemson. And then I'm a pass on the win total for now. And
But I lean over. I
oh
think
yeah, I
I think
figured. Yeah,
I don't. I'm not a big believer in Texas. I'm not as big a believer in Texas. I know Quinn Ewers is a dude, but they lost a whole lot of his toys, and uh, that conversation will be real interesting. But I think Georgia is no worse than an 11-win team.
all right, so Jay leans over. He obviously loves Georgia against Clemson in week one. Are you an endorsement on Beck plus 850?
100%, 100%. Because you made a great point that if Georgia, that's such a better bet than Georgia
Plus
chalk
325.
at 350 to win the national championship. Because if they're in a position to do that, even before you go to the playoff and play better teams, if Georgia runs the table and they are, I mean, the Beck bet is better even than the over. Because if they're 11-1 and you cash at minus 130, Beck's going to get invited to the ceremony.
Right, right.